Good morning, everyone. If everybody could find a seat, we're ready to get started. We're already about 4 minutes behind, and we haven't even gotten started yet. So I'm going to try to move us along rather quickly. Thank you all for joining us. We're very happy to have you here on the second installment of Plan Lafayette Days. We're excited about the theme today, which is strategizing economic growth. It's right in line with what One Acadiana's mission is of enhancing the quality of life and quality of place and improving the economic well-being of the business community throughout the entire region. Two of our sessions today are focused on regional themes, regional initiatives, Acadiana's Opportunity Zone Initiative, which you're going to hear a great deal about, and leveraging downtown Lafayette as a regional asset. The third session, which we're calling Developing in Lafayette 101, will dive into some of the specifics on developing in Lafayette with key personnel from several LCG departments. Today's event is a collaborative effort, as is most things that we do at One Acadiana. We couldn't do it, the things that we do, without our strong partnerships. We have great partnership with Lafayette Consolidated Government, and especially want to thank Danielle Bro, Director of Development and Planning. And I saw the mayor is here as well. Mayor, thank you. The Acadiana Planning Commission, very strong partner of ours. Monique, thank you for being here, and thank you for partnering with us. And the Downtown Development Authority. Where's Anita? I saw Anita earlier too. There's Anita. Anita, thank you for the partnership that we have with you guys as well. This first session on Acadiana's Opportunity Zone Initiative is particularly exciting for us. It was interesting. I was having a conversation with Christian Mader before we walked in here, talking about how do we find out who the funds are that are looking. Only thing that we can do proactively right now is make sure that we're as prepared as possible to take advantage of the opportunities that these opportunity zones represent, because the funds will invest where it's easiest to invest. And so if we can provide the proper information on the opportunity zones that we have across our region, then the more prepared we are and the more looks we'll get. If there's no information available, then they're going to move on to the next location that has information available. So that's why we've worked so diligently with APC and other partners on the Acadiana perspective and with LCG on the Lafayette perspectives as well. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to the man who knows the real run of show here today. That's Andre Bro. And Andre will take over from here. And again, I want to thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, Troy. My name is Andre Bro. I work on staff at One Acadiana. I'm really excited about the program we have for you all today, and particularly about this session on Acadiana's Opportunity Zone Initiative. So since we are talking about opportunity zones, and different people in the audience probably have a different level of understanding on the Opportunity Zone program, we thought we would start quickly with a definition of terms. So click. We have one slide for you today that defines some terms, and I realize this is dangerous for me to do because I think there are a lot of people in the audience who know a whole lot more about this program than I do. But just to make sure everyone has a little background and context on the program, the Opportunity Zone program was created in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. It's intended to spur economic development in low-income, distressed communities, and to create jobs and wealth in those communities that might not otherwise receive investment. And an opportunity zone, when we say opportunity zone, what we mean by that is typically one of the census tracts that was designated by the U.S. Department of the Treasury, nominated by governors as opportunity zones to receive the tax benefits that we'll talk about in a second. Governor Edwards nominated 150 census tracts in Louisiana, which were certified. 25 of those 150 census tracts are located in the 9-parish Acadiana region, which is exciting. Another term you'll probably hear today is Opportunity Fund. And so an Opportunity Fund is the investment vehicle that invests in opportunity funds, and there are certain regulations around those investments. But there are three primary tax benefits that come from investing in an opportunity fund. The first is the deferral on capital gains taxes. So if you sell or exchange an investment and you reinvest those gains into an opportunity fund, you can defer the capital gains taxes that you would have paid for as long as that investment is held up until 2026. The second primary benefit is you get to reduce your tax payment if you hold that investment for 5 or 7 years. So if you hold it for 5 years, you reduce the capital gains tax you would have paid by 10%, and if you hold it for 7 years, you will reduce it by 15%. And then the third primary benefit is if you hold that investment for 10 years in the Opportunity Fund, you will eliminate any capital gains on what you earn while that money is invested. So any new capital gains you earn, you will eliminate the taxes on those capital gains. 2019 is a pivotal year for Opportunity Zone investment in order to receive the full benefits of the program. And that's one of the reasons why we have a sense of urgency around convening these forums and promoting Opportunity Zone investment in Acadiana. We want to thank Monique Boulay and the APC for taking the lead in starting these conversations. Mayor Robideau also recognized the opportunity very early on for positioning the city, parish, and region to benefit from the program. So I'm going to turn it over to Monique. We have a really strong regional approach that we're taking as a 9-parish region, and Monique's going to tell you a little bit more about that.
Hi, my name is Monique Boulay, and I am the CEO of the Acadiana Planning Commission. And I want to thank Troy and Andre and Danielle and Corey and the whole team from One Acadiana for really partnering with us in this. We certainly cannot do this alone. And for today, as well as I want to thank Danielle Breaux and Mayor Robideau for the leadership from LCG in this initiative and in the new format for Plan Lafayette. I think it's working really well. Thank you. Figure out how to do this. The first law of thermodynamics, also known as the law of conservation of energy, states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred or changed from one form to another. The Opportunity Zone initiatives are moving the conversations in Acadiana from investment for the best profit margin to investment with the possibility of revitalization. The same energy is evolving into a bigger community conversation. I gotta get this PowerPoint thing down. We are excited because the energy in each of these communities is changing. Today, throughout Acadiana, we are asking, what are the possibilities of a blighted, potentially contaminated parcel of land? How do we get that back into commerce? How do we leverage multiple properties together to increase the value of the entire block or possibly an entire corridor? What does a project structure and a business plan need to look like to attract outside investment? Can we put a diverse capital stack together to complete even the most complex projects? These and many more questions are happening all over Acadiana. The conversations we are having in Eunice, Opelousas, Breaux Bridge, Morgan City, Church Point, Abbeville, Ville Platte, and certainly here in the core of Lafayette are evolving. Can our local investors, our philanthropists, our towns and chambers be strategic about what investment looks like? Can we develop catalyst projects to ignite the revitalization of our core downtowns and our main streets? The governor has given us a region full of opportunity zones. Every parish has at least one, and many have multiple. We are partnering together and producing a regional strategy that is getting attention and moving our community conversations in awesome ways. Together with partners like One Acadiana, with LEDA, with the Community Foundation, with our regional economic development organizations, community groups, hospital foundations, the real estate community, the development community. Acadiana has jumped to the forefront of the Opportunity Zone conversation. We are changing the energy around what development will look like in our most disinvested census tracts. Today, you will see an awesome prospectus for LCG. Danielle Bro and her team and partners have done a tremendous job. Because we are working together as a region and not competing against each other, we will use this and the Acadiana prospectus that many of you have already seen. And if you haven't, you can go to our websites. I believe it's on one Acadiana's website or the Acadiana Planning Commission website and download it. We will use these two prospectuses as guides to help produce individual prospectuses for the communities that have opportunity zones throughout the region. The opportunity legislation and guidance do not provide for clear tracking. That is a frustration of the media because they want measurements all along the way, and it would be nice to have them. But the legislation does not do that. Success indicators are not simple. But I can tell you the energy around development in Acadiana is transforming. It may be several years before we can truly measure any success, but it seems that all of the right pieces are beginning to fall in place, and I'm excited for the entire region. We are here at the Light Center. We were here at the Light Center in February, 3 short months ago, introducing the idea of opportunity zones. Today, 3 short months later, you will get updates from around the region and get to see the prospectus Lafayette is debuting, in addition to the new Invest Acadiana website. These are all good measures. In all of our communities, we are talking about what is the next step now that we understand the program. And really it revolves around projects. What does project visioning mean? What do project packages or project structures look like that can ignite local investment or pull in outside investment? Do we set up local funds? There are some local opportunity zone funds already set up. Can we set up community funds? Can we strategize as a community and really direct some of this in catalyst ways that can really ignite what we're trying to do? I would like to end with a continued invitation to keep the questions and the conversations going around projects and around our communities. APC and One Acadiana are traveling together throughout Acadiana. Let us know if you have a group. We are more than happy to come and just facilitate this conversation. And lastly, thank you. It's been a blast to watch the light bulbs go off. It's kind of corny, but I really felt that, particularly in Morgan City. There was about an hour into the conversation, you could see the aha moments from people who just hadn't thought about things the way we were talking about them. And one of the real estate people said to me, well, it's better if the private sector does this than government. And I said, yes, you're right, and that's the point of this, is really trying to support the private sector in a way that can move those projects and those, whether it's a piece of land or business, growth, whatever it is, to enhance our commercial activity. And so I leave you with that, and thank you.
Thank you, Monique. And in terms of what's going on across the state, I think I've heard that Lafayette and the Acadiana region are further ahead of anyone. In terms of what's going on across the country, we're seeing a lot of communities develop prospectuses, but I have not seen any region come together like the Acadiana region. I think we're unique in that respect, that we're coming together as 9 parishes, as Monique said, not competing against each other, trying to figure out how we can position the region as a whole to the best advantage for opportunity zone investment. We are going to dive a little bit deeper now into what some of our particular communities are doing. Since it is Plan Lafayette Day, we are going to start with Lafayette, and we have Mayor Robideau and Danielle Bro here to tell you a little bit more about what's going on in Lafayette.
Is this one on? It is? Okay. I wanted this one on just so I could make my escape after I make my comments to go to my next thing. So I appreciate it. And if y'all need the clicker, Andre, I just found it for y'all. It's over here.
Okay.
If you don't want to have to operate the keyboard. There was a time when, not that long ago, when I think I knew as much or more about opportunity zones than just about everybody else. And the really good news is that time has since passed by a lot. There's a lot of folks locally that have really dove in and started to understand the potential that these opportunity zones and what the federal law allows to happen. And so that's really good for Lafayette and for the region. And again, I want to thank you, Monique, for taking the lead on getting the conversation started as much as anything else. And so as it relates to these opportunity zones and these opportunities funds, the 90-something% of the conversation has been about opportunity zones as it relates to these real estate development plays. And there's a reason for that. Number one, it's smart. Number two, it's tangible. It's something I think that the development community understands and can grasp, and it's just in their world, it's another incentive to stack on whatever other existing incentives are out there to help with the return on investment and ultimately allow them to do some projects in some areas, quite frankly, that they wouldn't have done and wouldn't have worked mathematically for them to do. So that's a huge component piece of the opportunity zones, and there's a lot of conversations. Best part of my job is I get to be in on a lot of discussions about possibilities and things that people are working towards to try to make happen. And so the sense of urgency is there because there's a timeline. So that's good news. What I'd like to ask of the audience today, because it's very rare that you can be with a group of thought leaders that are this smart and that are this engaged and really can come up with some incredible ideas about how to move this community forward. Another piece of the opportunity zone that's certainly less discussed is the equity investment in entrepreneurs and startup businesses and what difference that can make in a community also. And so there's no perfect structure for that to happen. It's a lot more difficult from government's perspective to figure out how to engage with investors that want to do something, to engage entrepreneurship, and to get some equity investments in these startup enterprises, to become the place in the state or one of the places in the country where entrepreneurs say, well, that's where you need to go. Did you see their opportunity zone prospectus for equity investment? They're way ahead of the ball game. And so I'm being as candid as I can be. I'm dreaming about how to create that. We have our Public Innovation Trust, which I think is a possible vehicle for that, to partner with the private sector. But I want to challenge the thought leaders that are here to let's really think about how Lafayette can position itself to be the place where entrepreneurs and startup enterprises all across the country realize, well, if I'm going to go do this, I can do it from a lot of places. Lafayette has an incredible program that somebody here is going to dream up, coupled with our infrastructure, fiber, and all the other things that go with it, low-cost utilities. And just our quality of life that we have here in Lafayette. So my challenge to you today is to help me dream, but help me dream like really fast because that window is short. And we need to come up with a strategy that's going to make sense. The 7 zones that the census tracts that we have designated as opportunity zones are incredible. We owe a debt of gratitude to the governor for seeing that those zones have the potential to actually secure significant investment, which is what he wanted more than anything. He didn't want to pick census tracts that developers would say, that's not going to happen in Pecan Island. You know, that's just not going to be the investment driver that we need it to be. He recognized what he had in these Lafayette census tracts and committed to them. And so now it's incumbent upon us to make sure that those census tracts succeed and all of Lafayette, ultimately then all of the region is going to benefit from whatever good comes from that. So as much as anything else, I'm asking you to join in my dilemma of figuring out the equity piece. I think we are way ahead of the rest of the state for sure. There's a few other states nationally that are probably ahead of us. Some of them have already invested their money in Lafayette recently. We're focusing this next segment. Danielle's going to come up and talk about what we're trying to accomplish in the city as it relates to the opportunity zones. And so thank you for engaging at this level. It's really important for the future of Lafayette that you're here and putting a lot of thought into how we can best structure whatever it is we're going to structure. So Danielle, if you don't mind coming up, providing everybody with a little bit more detail about what you and your office has worked on. And did you want this? Is that what? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to bring it to you. Thank you all for coming, and certainly appreciate your input, and make sure and reach out to us with any great ideas that you have.
Is Shannon in the room?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I had certain slides that I'd already cobbled out.
Oh, look. Is this-
There, yep, that's it. Make that full screen mode. Perfect, thank you. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. My name is Danielle Bro. I'm Director of Development and Planning at LCG. We, coming off of the heels of all of those wonderful introductions is a little intimidating, but I think it sets the stage for what we are so excited to present to you today. On the heels of the February Opportunity Zone Forum, LCG convened an Opportunity Zone Working Group comprised of LEDA, Acadiana Planning Commission, One Acadiana, Downtown Development Authority, and Community Foundation of Acadiana to discuss Lafayette's next steps into the Opportunity Zone arena. LCG's goal was to build on the great work that APC, One Acadiana, and CFA put into the Acadiana Opportunity Zone Prospectus, taking a deeper dive into the 7 census tracts in Lafayette. Today, we're excited to present to you our Lafayette Opportunity Zone Prospectus, which I call version 1.0. We realize that the prospectus is going to be a living, breathing document, and it needs to evolve over time as we learn about new projects and new and funds that want to invest here, and also dive even deeper than we did in this prospectus. So I say that in that our intent is to help folks regionally, locally, nationally learn more about why they should invest in Lafayette in terms of what makes us unique and relevant. So I will say this right now, this is a subset of the Lafayette Opportunity Zone Prospectus. It is 80 some odd pages. I won't bring you through all of that today, but it really talks about why invest in Lafayette. It gives an introduction into Lafayette. And again, this is for people who may not know us, those who haven't been here in some time, and those that are here and just want to kind of get reconnected with some of the things that makes Lafayette unique and special. So we talk about our history, our access, looking at our interstate network, just the tie-in here in Lafayette to connecting to the north-south connector of I-49, as well as the east-west connection of I-10. Our proximity being equidistant between Houston and New Orleans, San Antonio, Birmingham, Dallas, Austin, again, just puts us right in the center of some great regional presence here. We talk about and there's more pages to these sections, I do say that, so I just let you know. We do talk about the cultural arts and entertainment and our workforce, really looking at our regional population, 1.4 million within a 60-mile radius of Lafayette. I think there's just some wonderfully impressive numbers with our workforce. And then, as Joel talked about, getting really into our fiber broadband infrastructure and what makes Lafayette unique from a technology perspective and what we have to offer. Looking at our entrepreneurial culture. And then we take a deeper dive into Lafayette. This is the Lafayette MSA, really looking at the demographics, the numbers, from population, median age, poverty rates, our statistical information from our unemployment rates, higher ed enrollment. Looking at our workforce, looking at the Lafayette MSA in terms of just the boundary that includes for those that are not familiar with the MSA of Lafayette. And then looking at our major employers, our top tech companies, and recent announcements. So as many of you are probably already familiar, there's 7 census tracts within Lafayette Parish. These are all outlined here. In the Acadiana Opportunity Zone prospectus, they dug deep and really looked at the 7 tracts, talked about the typology of each tract. What we've done is kind of gone one step further and really created districts from these 7 tracts, really looking at plan infrastructure improvements, looking at location, looking at typology, that really gave us a general guide to gauge the compatibility of these potential opportunity zone districts against one another. So these are the districts that we've set up. In the red, it's the census tract 10.01, it's the North Lafayette corridor. What we've done is we've cobbled together census tracts 7, 8, and 9 to create the University Cultural Gateway District. Census tract 11 is the Evangeline Gateway. Census tract 1 we call Lysantra, or as others know it as downtown. And census tract 22 is the Oil Center Health and University District. This, of course, comprises Lafayette General, the Oil Center, and the UL campus. So going a little further, when Joel was talking about his vision on equity investment, this is the vision of what each of these opportunity zones have the ability to support. So really just starting to try to light that light bulb, if you will, to kind of get people thinking creatively about what could happen in each of these districts. And that the district could be home to any of these things. Innovation districts focused on technology and software, utilizing our LUS Fiber infrastructure. Culinary districts with an integrated cooking school, entertainment district with a performing arts center with multiple size performance spaces, a STEAM school, community center or various sizes of community gathering spaces, hotel with quality conference space and meeting space, retail districts with shops and restaurants, and of course lifestyle districts that are focused on active lifestyles with easy access to recreation areas, parks, walking paths, and the like. I'll bring you through the North Lafayette Corridor Opportunity Zone District, and we've done this for each of the districts in the prospectus, so I won't bring you through it for each of all the other ones, but this will just kind of give you an overall overview of what we have put in here. So the first page really focuses on an overview of the district, just to get people familiar with what it is, puts a map, highlights some of the planned infrastructure improvements, as well as some of the key assets within the district that already exist. If we know of potential projects that are already underway, we try to note that as well. Not everything is on here, so again, this gets back to the living, breathing part of the document, so if there are other things that can better inform the prospectus, we definitely want to hear from you all, and I'll talk more about that at the end. And really also just looking at the access through the areas. So obviously this one bordered by I-49 and I-10, North University Avenue going through it, and bordered at the north by West Gloria Switch Road. We do a whole Lafayette Corridor district by the numbers. So this really breaks out the district as it compares to the Lafayette MSA to give people a better feel for what is happening within each of those districts from a number standpoint. This is our only district, that has a certified site in it. So, I mean, again, trying to note those things for folks so they understand. Identifying the top industries. We've also got additional information on education attainment, and a couple other slides. We're still working on those slides, but there'll, again, be more demographic information that'll be showing up in short order in the prospectus. We talk about the district's vision for it, and then also why invest in this district. So again, trying to get people's thinking caps on, get people thinking about how to get creative about investing in this area. So I'll bring you through really quickly. This is the University Cultural Gateway Opportunity Zone. Same thing with the introduction and the map. We do the district by the numbers. We get into why invest here. And then also in this one, start looking a little bit deeper if we know of potential projects that are on the cusp. So we talk about bottle art lofts. We recognize the efforts that Destiny of Faith and Bridge Ministry have done in this area already. And again, trying to, noting that we look forward to having, this investor be part of the Cultural Gateway to Lafayette. We talk about the planned infrastructure improvements on University Avenue. Again, there's another catalyst site at Willow Street and University Avenue. So again, just trying to spark some thought and creativity about visionary projects in these areas that could be. This below is a section of what the planned infrastructure improvements are slated to look like along University Avenue. The Evangeline Gateway Opportunity Zone District. Again, this is where we get an overview of the district, look at the map in the area. In this district, we do talk about the Walmart vacancy. We talk about the underutilization of Northgate Mall. We talk about the fact that there's the I-49 connector work, the $1 billion investment that's planned by DDOT through this area. So again, trying to at least promote what assets are there, what things have the potential to be invested in this area. There's been lots of conversation, and you may hear some things today from those in the audience about some thoughts about how to invest in this area. So it's some exciting conversations that are happening. We're not at liberty to talk about them yet, but once people want to come out and talk about them more publicly, we're going to want to include those in here as well. The district by the numbers. This is the downtown district. Again, the overview. It's proximity to UL and the oil center, its map, its highlight of its assets. Downtown by the numbers. Again, also talking about the projects underway. So we talk about the old federal courthouse, Vermilion Lofts, Buchanan Heights townhomes. Again, just trying to show investors that there's a lot going on in this area, so there's lots more that can come to this area to further support the growth of downtown. And yes, in our other project, the Buchanan redevelopment site, we've got an RFP out right now, for those of you who don't know, and it's due in middle of June. So that's another opportunity that could be one for an opportunity zone project as well. And lastly, our Oil Center Health and University Opportunity Zone District. So again, this is South College, bordered by Pinhook, Jefferson, and Johnston Street. So this is gets into UL, Girard Park, and Lafayette General Medical Center. By the numbers, a potential project rendering of what Lafayette General is proposing to do. Lafayette General, I believe Paul Mobert will be here there he is in the back of the room, will be here and can talk a little bit more about some of the project work that they're looking at doing for Lafayette General. But this is a rendering that came out of the Oil Center Master Plan. So again, we've got these great studies, for both downtown, for the Oil Center. We've got the corridor study for University Avenue. We've got studies on I-49. So we've got lots of other great resources that can help people start to envision the what could be's in these areas. And lastly, the prospectus really gets into incentives. What's in the prospectus is certainly not an exhaustive list of all of them. It really is a subset of the incentives, and we note that, or tried to note that really clearly. We also note that not all incentives will work for every project, and certainly it would be up to the investor or developer to consult their legal and financial advisors to see what would work best for them. But we do want to at least kind of hit some things that are happening. So obviously on the federal level, we talk about new market tax credits, the brownfields program, because we do have a few dirty sites throughout in some of these districts that need to be cleaned up. And then we talk about the federal historic rehabilitation tax credit. So with this credit, if you have an individually listed building on the National Register of Historic Places, you can qualify, if you go through the National Park Service's process, for a 20% tax credit on eligible expenses. And those can include architectural fees, construction fees. It's like anything but furniture and fixtures and that sort of thing. And with that, what also qualifies are buildings that contribute to a National Historic District. So I apologize, we're still working on the map here, but what this does in the gray are the Opportunity Zone tracts, and then the three boundaries that you see in the color are three National Historic Districts. Sterling Grove in the orange, we already, Sterling Grove in the orange is already in place, and the Freetown Port Rico, which is in the burgundy red color, is already in place. The Lasantra, which is in the aqua, is one that's currently underway. So we are in the process, the city is, of doing that inventory and getting that National Historic District in place, and we're hopeful that we'll have that in place by the end of this calendar year. Other incentives, enterprise zone, quality jobs. So with enterprise zone, same thing. There's certain areas that qualify as enterprise zones. And again, all this stuff can be stacked or twinned. There's various terms that are being used with opportunity zones. So they can be used in conjunction with. So what we've done here is we've outlined, and again, we're working on the maps so they're a little bit better, easier to read, but the green represents the opportunity zones, the blue represents all the enterprise zones that we have in the parish. So again, you can layer those things if that the enterprise zone incentive works for your project. So then we get to kind of the more state level incentives. Lastly, I'll talk about here is the state historic rehabilitation tax credit. So again, similar to the federal, this is another 20% tax credit that's done through the State Historic Preservation Office. In order to qualify, your historic building has to be within a cultural district. It doesn't stand that it's just individually listed. So it has to be within one of these districts. So what we've done, again, another map that we're working on, the gray is the opportunity zones. The green is the downtown cultural district that is currently in place, and it currently exists. The red is the Macomb-Vise cultural district that currently exists, and the purple is the, and then the blue is the University Gateway cultural district that we have underway. The orange is an oil center cultural district currently underway, and the purple is a greater Freetown cultural district that's currently underway. So when I say that, we've put in and made all the applications to the state. We're hoping by the summer that we will get our final approval, and those all those cultural districts will be in place. And that will open up any of those historic buildings that contribute to those cultural districts to the state 20% historic tax credit. So for more information, and Danielle from One Acadiana will talk to you about this later in the session, but the prospectus is loaded to the investacadiana.com website. It's about double the size of the slides you saw here. Lots of good information in it. But again, a living, breathing document, and I want to hear anything that you think can add to this to better support you, your investors, your developers, whomever needs to use this document, that we want to make sure gets included in here. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me personally so we can make sure that we accommodate that. So, and with that, I'll turn it over. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Danielle. Tremendous amount of work that went into putting the Lafayette prospectus together, both with Danielle and her team, Shannon and our communications team at One Acadiana. This really is one of the best opportunity zone prospectuses in the country right now. So we are well positioned to market ourselves for opportunity zone investment. And we are working, as Monique talked about, too, with all of our communities in the Acadiana region to make sure that we're supporting investment in all 9 of our parishes. So we have a couple representatives who can give you a snapshot of what's going on in some of our other communities in the region. First up, we have Jeff Stewart with UL Lafayette.
Right, good morning. I'm Jeff Stewart from the Moody College of Business and serve in a position where I work a lot in regional outreach, but I'm also the director of the newly formed Louisiana Entrepreneurship and Economic Development Center, or the LEAD Center, which is funded by EDA. And this center recently has started a project with Evangeline Parish, and largely with Ville Platte being the parish seat, and as a good place for us to start what's going to be probably a 3 to 4 semester type of process. In this work, you quickly realize, coming from Lafayette and moving out into a rural parish, you quickly realize a few things that are going to take place. Number one, it's going to move a whole lot slower than things that are happening in Lafayette. And people say that government moves slow. Well, when you get out to the rural areas, you recognize the capacity that government has just in terms of bandwidth and people that are working. It really limits their ability to move things pretty quick. So getting out to Evangeline Parish really helped us to recognize where we had some gaps. And I want to thank Monique Boulay and Chad with APC for stepping in right away and helping us with it. They brought opportunity zones to my attention, to the university's attention, and we started to incorporate that in the work that we were going to do. Also want to thank Rebecca Shirley and One Acadiana for being out in Evangeline Parish and helping us as well. But then at the same time, we have to recognize the work that Lafayette has done, because it really speeds up our learning curve to really follow the lead of what Lafayette has done. We don't have to recreate the wheel, which is really, really important. So I'll give a little bit of overview on kind of where we are. With Evangeline Parish, we titled this Project Engage because, as most of you who are from Louisiana know, 30 years ago, I-49 opened up, and 30 years ago, Evangeline Parish saw a tremendous decrease in traffic through their parish, but in particular through the city of Ville Platte. So for 30 years, this community has been in a slow decline, and not just from an economic standpoint, but also from a community engagement standpoint. So the project came about through the Evangeline Parish Community Foundation, which is part of CFA here in Lafayette, Ms. Anita Fontenot, Cabot Industries, Investar Bank, put up the seed money for it. They purchased the bank in town and recognized the need to get things moving. So there's some pretty good business engagement there, but also some government engagement as well. So our center's there. We have all divisions of city government engaged in the process as well. So it's been a really good initial first semester. We made a good first cut, and now we're able to start to direct our efforts in a little bit more meaningful way as we move forward. But what we see in Evangeline Parish is this snapshot, and opportunity zones come into play because we see it as a real inflection point for where this community goes in the future. So as I mentioned, engagement was starting to wane. We did 3 different town hall meetings in Ville Platte itself. We got about 50 people to attend, which initially I wasn't really happy with. But the people who are from Ville Platte were over the top ecstatic, because they say, gosh, there's people involved in this conversation that we haven't seen in years. So again, it makes you take a little bit of step back, put things in proper perspective, and start to move. But if you haven't been to Ville Platte lately or Evangeline Parish lately, this is a place with tremendous culture. Food culture, music culture, language, you name it, they've got it. Fred's Lounge in Mamou, global draw. People come. Mardi Gras in Mamou, global draw. Chico Park just hosted Balfour Week, and I think Le Grand Hurrah. It was tremendous. So they've got pieces there. We've got global companies like Cabot, global companies like Schlumberger. There's elements there that just have to come together and start to work. So we really see it as this inflection point. So where they are, so here's Lafayette here, so Evangeline Parish, northern part of Acadiana. We've got 2 opportunity zones, which pretty much cover the entire city of Ville Platte. One thing that it doesn't cover, though, is right up here, which is their industrial park, which has a certified site in the industrial park. So what this had us do was turn our attention to not saying, hey, look, we can't go and sell the opportunity zone for somebody who wants to locate in a certified site. But what we can turn our attention to is saying, companies who want a certified site that need to be supported by supply chains, the supply chain companies can locate south of there in this opportunity zone. The ancillary services within that supply chain come into play. So we have a lot of property in these opportunity zones that could be repurposed. We've got vibrant Main Street, so some of the opportunities that we see on the Main Street side, there's a lot of different buildings available. So we could look at it as there's nothing going on, or we could look at it as, hey, you know what, this is a place where a lot of things can happen. So there's some energy around it. As we were going through the town and as we were thinking about things, the one thing that jumped out to me was everybody was talking about what wasn't happening, and the thing that I saw on Main Street was that they had 6 banks. They only have 2 restaurants, but they got 6 banks. Like, okay, so we've got some money here. We've got people making deposits. It's time to start to get some things off the sideline and put it back in and get people moving. again, with this detachment and just kind of this gradual decline in the community, family is very, very important there. People go to work, they go home, they have a supper, they enjoy life. They haven't really been engaged, but also there's been nobody to invite them to engage. So some of those things are starting to happen. Rural health care. So things from substance abuse to just rural health clinics. I mean, there's a lot of other types of programs that could go along with it besides the ones that Danielle mentioned. I mean, we got groups like USDA and rural business development grants and all these types of rural funding mechanisms that are out there that could also come into play. Rural health care is a big, big piece. We don't have a single substance abuse facility in Evangeline Parish. So what's happening is if somebody needs assistance, police department picks them up. The only detox program they have is to keep them in jail, which then we know overcrowding of jails and that whole cycle that goes along. Repurposing vacant retail. So there are retail strips, old strip malls that are there that could be repurposed. A lot of available land, and in particular, there's one really good strip mall that's just due south of where that industrial park is. Some of the challenges that we've come across at the local level. Number one is bandwidth. Without the Acadiana Planning Commission and One Acadiana, Evangeline Parish is really limited in what they can accomplish. Not because we don't have good people, well-intentioned people, just because we don't have the capacity to move some things forward. So we have one economic developer. Some people say he's full-time, some people say he's part-time, some people say he's paid, some people say he's volunteer. He's wonderful, but he's by himself. So strategically, it's one of the things that we put in the forefront at the end of our presentations this semester, is that we have to figure out a way to provide more support to them, whether it's through Business Advisory Council, which then calls upon the business community to start getting engaged and trying to figure out how do we add more resources to it. At a minimum, we have to ensure that their priorities are in alignment with the regional resources that we have. And I think we're moving in that direction. On the community engagement side, it's not just about, everybody coming together around a central vision. It's also coming together and say that, there's people who want to take action. What we've seen throughout Acadiana over the past few years has been amazing in terms of parish presidents coming together. Monique has done a wonderful job. How she got all the parish presidents on her board to agree to be on the board, but then to actually work on the board is amazing. But we're starting to see it happen. We have that synergy going on. What we're starting to see in Ville Platte is now we're having to go out and challenge the business community, the leaders in the business community to say, listen, we need you, but we need you spur of the moment as well. Because if we had somebody who called a real estate developer who wanted to go to Evangeline Parish right now and look at a site, who do they call? I mean, we don't know. Who do they call? So who's it going to be? Is it going to be, a banker that understands where properties are, what the opportunities are in the community? We have to create that list. So we're a little bit behind. We don't really have the capability to move quickly just yet, but that's kind of where we're working on the engagement side, to at least have a phone list of people that we could count on. And then the last big piece is marketing. So they have resources, they have assets in terms of sites, they have great sites, they have money that's available there. We just don't have a story that we could take to bring to One Acadiana, to the Planning Commission, to state LED, or to developers in general. So from the university standpoint, that's the thing that we're trying to help them to get that story together to where we could mobilize it and we could put it in the hands of people who could assist with creating a little bit more bandwidth. Because I know at LED, they got a lot of folks that want to make things happen in the state. We just got to get them the package to be able to show them what's the opportunity that happens in Ville Platte and in Evangeline Parish. So with that, I'll end there as our little overview.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to keep tooting Acadiana's horn because I'm going to say again that I think we're one of the only places in the country where we have a team of MBA students who are looking at opportunity zone investment. So kudos to Jeff and his students for all the work they've done in Evangeline Parish. Also, UL Lafayette is another key partner that we didn't mention earlier when talking about partnerships. I know we have Dr. Gary Wagner here in the audience, Acadiana business economist, and I also saw Dr. Stephen Barnes, who's the new director of the Blanco Public Policy Center. So UL Lafayette, another partner who's working together with all of us on this initiative. Yet another partner is Bill Rodier with St. Landry Economic Development. And Bill is going to talk to you a little bit about what's happening in Opelousas and Eunice.
All right, we're good, we're good. I can't sit still, guys. I've had too many cups of coffee this morning, so I got to walk around a little bit. So my name is Bill Rodier. Some of you in the room, I guess probably a lot of you in the room, I've at least had an opportunity to sit down with a little bit together. I was going to take 10 minutes. I've got a clock on this. It'll be challenging, but I'm going to try to do it in 10 minutes to kind of tell you about what's a combination of the pictures, really, what you heard about in Lafayette and what you heard about in Evangeline, really somewhere in between that, I think, is where St. Landry Parish sits. So I always have to do this. What do you say? We got 50 people in the room, maybe 60 people in the room? Please be honest. How many people in this room have a tie to St. Landry Parish? You send your children to school there, you were born there, you have a spouse that works there, some tie back to St. Landry Parish. Please keep your hands up in the air for just a sec. So look around the room, guys. When I do this in different areas with different presentations, about 40% of the room, on average, raises their hand. So when we talk about regionalism, it is regional. We all are tied to different pieces of Acadiana. So I would say, first of all, and I would echo what you've heard already, and I hope you hear more, Monique, Troy, Andre, the efforts that One Acadiana and the Planning Commission have put together to make this to where it is right now, not to mention the efforts of Danielle and others. We wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for the work of some of our regional partners. We've come so far as a region in the last 5 years. Would anybody disagree with that? Remember where we were at regionally 5 years ago? We were almost non-existent, guys. And I'm not picking at people. It's just we made really, really big progress. So we have roughly 30–40% of the room that's from St. Landry Parish. So I don't have to explain to you the geography of St. Landry Parish because you know, you're from there, right? Some of you are not, but I'm going to give you, they say I'm a storyteller, so this is just going to be a quick story of opportunity zones in St. Landry Parish. I don't have real fancy graphs with this, so you're going to have to use some visualization with it. St. Landry Parish, like Lafayette Parish, is very strategically positioned at the crossroads of Highway 190 and I-49, right in the middle. It's almost split in quarters by divided 4 lanes or interstate highways. So strategically, it's very well positioned, right? So Chad, raise your hand, Chad. See, he sits back there and doesn't take any of the credit for a lot of this stuff, and that's a guy that's done a lot of this stuff, and he helped set up those opportunity zones. That's a big piece to why we're at where we're at today. That's Opelousas, guys, and if you look at the yellow strip, that's I-49 going north and south, and if you look at the blue strip, that's Highway 190 that's headed to the west through Eunice. I'm going to principally focus on opportunity zones in downtowns. And in fairness, I'm fair, because I was at the Lafayette Council last night advocating with Anita and others about the importance of a regional driver in downtown Lafayette. But in fairness also, every community in St. Landry Parish has to have their downtown succeed. And you're going to find a commonality as these opportunity zones overlap downtowns in most of our communities throughout St. Landry Parish. If we don't make our downtown successful here, Opelousas, Abbeville, Crowley, Breaux Bridge, those communities will eventually die. That's the barometer for their health, right? This is a tool to help do that. So let's talk about Opelousas. As many of you know, that's the gateway coming right into the start of Opelousas. Landry and Vine Street split Opelousas, a divided blessing and a curse, a divided highway right through the middle of downtown. I think the difference in Opelousas between what Jeff Stewart talked about in Evangeline and even to some extent in Lafayette Parish are things like this. So for those of you that aren't familiar, that's Landry Vine Street. That's west to Eunice going this way, I-49 north. And that's what you call University Avenue. They call Union Street and Opelousas going to the north and south. That district is important with opportunity zones because it provides resources. Keith Broussard? There's a treasurer for the new downtown development district in Opelousas. Just funded it the 1st of January. Guys, it's got real money to put behind this. It's another piece of the layer. We talked about having resources and capacity. We'd recognize that, and we're fortunate to get some of the leaders behind in St. Landry, like Jeff talked about in Evangeline, to create some of these districts to help guys like in the front here. And my goal is developers to mitigate the risk to come in and do projects in downtown Opelousas. So this district is a 7-person board, one of 5 that we manage, that has a funding mechanism in place that's designed to incentivize infrastructure for development through downtown Opelousas. In addition, talked about overlay districts, main streets, historic districts, cultural districts. They all overlap through downtown Opelousas, which has 3 opportunity zones within downtown Opelousas. So what could it be used for? This is actually in renovation right now. Those of you from St. Landry Parish, you got to know the Palace, right? That's just not possible to be from St. Landry and not know the Palace. In fact, probably a lot of others of you know that as well. Doesn't just have to be for the building piece. Mayor Robideau talked about the entrepreneurship piece. What about the people that are going to run this palace? What about the business model and the entrepreneurs that want to take on new businesses, new coffee shops in downtown Opelousas? Can that plug in to this? Sure can. Have we figured all the answers out? No, we're not. And I hope you didn't come here, at least in my view, expecting all the answers. I hope you come here with questions and not just expecting answers from this, because I think we're at that point in the development of the zones. For those of you that are from St. Landry, Opelousas probably has a special place with you because it's got a lot of character. Does it have a lot of challenges? Yeah, it does. Where are you going to recreate that character, guys? I mean, there is a lot of character and a lot of potential in downtown Opelousas. What can they be used for? Let me give you a quick example of a public-private partnership that could come to fruition with this. This is the New Life Center on Landry Street in downtown Opelousas. 4 stories, 28,000 square feet. 6 months ago, they were cooking 3 meals a day in this as a women's shelter for Catholic Charities within here. It's now vacant. Last Tuesday, we turned this over to full control of the Opelousas city government. We currently have all the new HVAC in storage and the labor to install it, waiting for an opportunity to put this building back in commerce. It was built in 1958, qualifies for the historic tax structure credit. It can be incentivized by the city, possibly with tax abatement, possibly with low or no-cost building acquisition. It can be incentivized with the DDD to get infrastructure improvements. My job, again, is to help the developers in the room see the value of possibly coming in, stacking OZs onto existing credits to make a project profitable. If I can't get the developers in the room, or we can't get developers in the room to see the value and the profitability of this, we're just speaking governmentese. We're not moving the needle on stuff, right? So there's an example of a project that if we stack the resources with this, with opportunity zones, could actually be a real project that probably wouldn't otherwise happen. What I see in Opelousas is a potential to make people aware of, to make people excited about again, and for a resource to stack in order to make projects viable. If nothing else, guys, this opportunity zone piece is it's a chance to make people aware of some of the resources in the planning around not just Lafayette, but other parts of Acadiana. We wouldn't be having these discussions if it weren't for opportunity zones, right? So just a thought with that. This is part of a planning and an education process, not just a process of investment with that. It is an actual education process. So let's talk about units for a minute. How many people been to units? Everybody? How many people been to LSUE? Did anybody in the room know that LSU's enrollment has increased over the past 3 years by 25%? Has 3350 enrollment at LSUE right now. We just completed a strategic plan for Eunice that will be adopted by the city in June, making LSUE an actual driver for the Eunice economy. Believe it or not, they've never thought of themselves as a college town before. They've never thought of themselves as a tri-parish community before. How do opportunity zones fit into Eunice, you may ask? Could be the same thing. We could take downtown Eunice. We could layer those, because it's an opportunity zone, into redevelopment projects in a really cool place. Those of you, they've got a really neat Main Street in Eunice. Really cool place to be. Or we could leverage these as a partnership. The biggest prohibitor to growth with LSUE is student housing. They've got capacity for about 235 students in their student housing. 3,300 enrollment with a chance to grow in there. We just hired a new chancellor with LSUE last week. There's an opportunity to expand student housing in Eunice to help accelerate the growth, to help create a better economic driver for Eunice in a non-traditional way with education as that driver, with opportunity zones complementing the funding mechanism that the LSU and the LSUE Foundation could also help to subsidize with that. That's an opportunity of layering opportunity zone investments and chances in order to make a project a reality. So I guess I would finish with this, because I know I'm close to my 10 minutes. If you came here, and this is an economic community developer, just a career's worth of experience in many ways in that. If you came here expecting to see all the answers to opportunity zones, what they are, what they represented, where you could invest your money, where you could point your clients to, you probably came here with misguided expectations. But if you came here with the thought process of how could I look around this region, how could I help to identify and be part of the vision, which is what Mayor Robideau started talking about, I think you came with the right mindset with this. If you came wanting to ask questions, you'll have the opportunity to do that throughout the day. If you came trying to realize opportunities, I hope that I've shared a couple opportunities. And look, I'm going to be fair. I think those opportunities are available in all our outlying communities. They really are. Let's look at downtowns and let's look at the resources that we can create to stack on top of these that'll make projects viable outside Lafayette. Is downtown Lafayette the regional driver of Acadiana? It better be, right? If it's not, we're in trouble. But if Breaux Bridge collapses, where's that leave St. Martin Parish? Can't. Downtown Breaux Bridge has to be successful. Downtown Opelousas has to be successful. It's a piece of the puzzle. And the last thing I'll say, because I'm looking at him right now, Cam, one of the questions that came across to me, it was just like a light bulb. Can opportunity zones be utilized as an investment vehicle with a P3 partnership on major infrastructure projects? Have we ever asked that question? I don't know. I think about Vine Street in downtown Opelousas. Could this be a vehicle that we could utilize to actually move the needle on some major infrastructure improvements in Acadiana? Maybe so. Maybe it's a conversation we have. I looked at you and I just saw that. So guys, thank you for so much for this. This guy sitting over here, he sits over here very quietly. There's a couple people behind the scenes that really make stuff happen. Andre, you really, really do some good work. And I'm going to say again, he sits back there and he doesn't say anything. Chad Lacombe, stand, please, Chad. This stuff wouldn't be happening without people like this behind the scenes to do that. I'm very grateful, very appreciative for the leadership, but also for the people that make this stuff happen, and for you. You had a lot of places you could be this morning, but you're taking the time to be here to talk about the future of our region. That's what it's all about. That's how we'll get there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. And we do have great leaders across the region. Bill has taken tremendous leadership in St. Landry Parish. Jeff with his folks in Evangeline Parish, and there's work going on throughout the region. Monique talked about a road show that APC and One Acadiana is doing. Been in St. Mary Parish recently, Eunice last week. So we'll be around the region talking to stakeholders in all the communities where there are opportunity zones located. And to tell you a little bit more about how this ties together and a tool that we have created for bringing all these resources into one place and hopefully providing a matchmaking function for investors, for property owners, for opportunity zone stakeholders. I'm going to turn it over to Danielle Morrissey from One Acadiana.
I'll handle the technology, huh? Okay, so we are really excited today to launch our investacadiana.com website. And I'll try to put a bow on everything, but I really think that this website kind of embodies the regionalism that we're talking about and really marketing the region and using that as an asset as we move forward and identify projects throughout the region within the opportunity zones. I know that we're giving a lot of praise to people, but there's a lot of work that went on behind the scenes to create the regional prospectus, Lafayette prospectus, and this website. So APC and Chad again. Chad is a real asset to our region. I think he's probably one of the top technical experts on this. So if you have any technical questions, that's going to be my answer, is to send you to Chad. He's really saw this Opportunity Zone program from the beginning and was really instrumental in kind of getting Acadiana to the forefront of the technical side. And then Monique really pushing everyone to be on the forefront of marketing our region. I've heard from a few people that Lafayette and the region is kind of on the forefront of this, which is scary and nice to hear. We have no one to look to, so people are looking to us, so we hope we're doing it right. So I kind of want to just do a brief overview of the website, and everyone has a card at their seat. So you can take this home with you. It's got the website on it, and we encourage you to look at it. This website is really meant to highlight the region. And many people have talked to you about that today, but we kind of just want to go through, in 9 of our parishes, like we said, we have 25 opportunity zones. This is going to be a place where, as we develop prospectuses throughout all of the different communities, this is kind of going to be the landing page. And as Andre said, this is meant to be a matchmaker. This is meant to be a place where we have projects and we send investors here and they can kind of get a overview, a snapshot of the region and look at projects and see what would make sense for them. So I'll kind of just scroll through so you can get a little taste of it. Please visit this website. Looking throughout the country, I really think this is one of the better websites put together, and like Andre said, one of the very few regional efforts that have gone in to the Opportunity Zones program. So I'm going to scroll down to the section that I've kind of been on. I call the Opportunity Zone Roadshow with Monique and Chad from APC. We're going into these communities and we're talking to them and encouraging them to start steering committees for opportunity zones and kind of get those leaders throughout the community, because what we've done here is we're providing a snapshot of the parish and the communities with the typologies that Chad did. So investors can quickly look at our region, see the different typologies, something that might pique their interest, and then we'll have parish pages for each one of the parishes. It'll highlight the region, and then also, right now, we have created a mini prospectus for each parish, but the idea in these communities is to get them to identify projects, and we build upon what we've done so far. So we've kind of provided a skeleton, a really nice looking skeleton, I think, to get the region ready and to get us ahead of kind of everyone else and market our region. I've heard from a lot of people too that projects is kind of needs to be our next step. So we're really pushing communities to identify those projects, and so we now have created a place for those to land, and hopefully we'll get some eyes on here and get some interest. So I think that's all I have. I encourage you all to go to the website, take a look around. As Danielle said with the Lafayette prospectus, this is going to be a living website as well. So if you see anything here that you think that we've missed or that you would like to add, please reach out to any one of the people that I've talked today, and we can definitely chat with you and kind of get that on here. But I think that's all I have, Andre.
Thank you, Danielle. So now we have a little bit of time for some audience engagement, and I know we have lots of partners who are involved in Opportunity Zone work across the region here, and want to acknowledge some of those partners and give them a couple minutes to introduce themselves and what they're working on. Danielle mentioned projects being the next step at this point in our process, and Lafayette General probably is furthest along kind of with identifying a project and setting up an opportunity fund. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul Maubert with Lafayette General to tell you a little bit more about what they're doing.
Good morning, everyone. Man, Corey met me halfway up here. This is pretty neat. Good to see everybody here. I'm going to be brief in my comments, but I will tell you, one of the things that I'm really hearing in a common thread that's so very important to our health system has been the regional approach that we've taken over the last 10 years, recognizing fully, we made a conscious decision 10 years ago that it's not about all roads leading to Lafayette General or to Lafayette. It's really about strengthening our regions and strengthening healthcare in local communities and how important that is. And we have in all the contiguous parishes relationships, whether it be clinical affiliations or hospitals that we own or manage. We go as far north as Bunkie, as far south as St. Mary Parish in Franklin. And what's really interesting about this is not about, again, taking business or weakening those health systems and hospitals in those communities. Is how do we strengthen them? And what I like about the approach here today, it parallels with what One Acadiana is doing, what the Opportunity Zone conversation's been about this morning as well too. So we're really excited about how this is all flowing together, so to speak. And a couple of things that I wanted to really highlight, and just the big picture approach. We have Lafayette General Opportunity Zone for Census Tract 22, which was shown earlier, has been created. C.N. Robinson could not be here this morning. He is really the kind of the Opportunity Zone guru who I would have loved to have you hear him speak, but you get me. And so that being said, one of the things that we have is we've established that fund that will be capped at $50 million for the oil, basically inclusive of the oil center. Lafayette General has been a pillar in the oil center since 1964 when it was constructed. And if you're familiar with one of the main projects that we're looking at right now, is actually looking at a medical office building, because enough physicians, we are landlocked, and as well as just having physicians that want to locate near or on our campus, we have the opportunity to do some really creative things there. A gem that's not often talked about enough, though, is the relationship that we have with University Hospital and Clinics right across the street by Cajun Field. And that really results around not only caring for those who are most in need within our 8-parish area, but it really boils down to the graduate medical education that occurs there. There's a magic that happens there that many people overlook. Recruiting physicians to live in an area is very, very difficult if you don't have a graduate medical education program. About 70% of physicians where they train and do their residency, complete their residencies, wind up living there. And so we're very fortunate to have that. And one of the things that we see as a need and a continued opportunity to expand housing, because we have hundreds of residents who come through and participate in training right here at UHC. Many of them, we have about 80 of them that are really bound here, 82 that are bound here on a yearly basis, but we have a couple of hundred that actually rotate through on an annual basis. But living conditions are important, and one of the areas that we really see as part of the Opportunity Zone as well too is to invest in housing for our residents next to Lafayette General along Hospital Drive as well too. So we are really excited about the Opportunity Zone for Census Tract 22. We like the momentum that's happening, but again, it's not all about what we're doing right here in the All Center. You know, and in your respective communities, I was amazed with the number of people who raised their hands that were from St. Landry Parish. That was impressive. I'm from Acadia Parish originally and still live there. And it's just exciting to see the interest, but more importantly, for those who are here to be educated and understand the opportunities that lie within the opportunity zones that are being created. It's really exciting. for us to be able to have the knowledge that's being transmitted here today, but hopefully you can take this to your respective communities and strengthen those as well too, because it will benefit us all as a region. Because it's not about everything doesn't stop right here in Lafayette. It starts, and in fact, our survivability as a health system cannot be realized without the strength of the surrounding parishes and communities. So we're really excited. And I think I've said that about 40 times. We're really excited, but if you haven't gotten that. Outside of that, anything else?
I think that was good. And we're going to have time for everyone to network too after this session. So I don't know if, Paul, you have to go, but there will be an opportunity to connect with all the folks you hear if you have questions for anyone.
Very good.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
And speaking of projects as well, I want to turn it over now to Nikita Lowry with Alpha Capital Partners. You may have seen in the news actually that Alpha Capital Partners recently acquired the University Place student housing development, and this is the first Opportunity Zone project in the area. So I want to let Nikita tell you a little bit more about that.
Okay, well, my name is Nikita Lowry. I am a regional director for Alpha Capital Partners, and Alpha Capital Partners is based out of Pittsburgh, and we have over 2,100 beds in our portfolio, and we are excited about University Place. We just acquired it actually this month, May the 7th, and we are looking forward to repositioning and rebranding the product. University Place offers 342 student housing beds. We have a cyber cafe that we have for the students, also as well as other amenities. So we're excited about UP. We're excited to be here in Lafayette. Thank you.
Another group of folks that are looking at projects and to encourage Opportunity Zone investment is Pride Opportunity Developers. So I'm going to turn it over to Ravis Martinez right now to tell you a little bit more about what they're doing.
Good morning, everybody. I guess the key word here is excitement. Everybody's excited. We're excited also. And really, the POD group, or Pride Opportunity Developers, we're really focused initially on Census Tract 11, which is the Evangeline Corridor, as it's just been named. It's really historic African-American district that we've seen a lot of disinvestment recently with the movement and closure of Walmart and other big box stores there. We've literally put together 3 projects to address sustainable and affordable housing, a mixed-use facility, and also looking at addressing additional points for existing and new businesses within Census Tract 11. That was one of the points that we kind of touched on that's really exciting. How do we really focus in on the businesses that are there? What kind of partnerships we can do with the city and other leaders to make sure that we're making sure other folks don't leave. So is there some TIF zones or some other types of entities or things that we can do to stack the deck to ensure that, one, that the projects are profitability, but we're also making sure that the residents there, that we're not displacing folks, and that we're really providing wealth for the folks that live there. As one of the tenets of the law in the creation of the opportunity zones was really to make sure that not only we can provide investment, but that we're building wealth. So what are we doing for the folks in these particular zones, and how are we ensuring that those dollars stay there and that we're finding, you know, that these folks are growing from their spaces. So we're excited to continue the discussions and really reach back to the city and other areas with planning and saying, hey, what works, what we've seen across the country, and how we can make sure that Lafayette stays at the forefront of what's happening in this area. So thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Thank you, Ravis. So we've been focused on what's going on in Acadiana so far, but we're going to zoom out for a second. We have Chase Terrebonne with UBS, who's going to tell you a little bit more about what UBS is doing on a national stage.
Thanks, Andre and Chad, for having me come speak. Just to kind of give you all an idea, I'm not sure who all is familiar with UBS. We are the global leading wealth managers with over 60,000 employees, and I'm based out of Baton Rouge office. We do have an office here in Lafayette. We don't really advertise, but our clientele really is the ultra high net worth space, and then, you know, regular management in Louisiana. What we have is a great opportunity to keep cash here and bring an influx of outside cash in, and that's my goal. Being a licensed attorney and a background in real estate, I hope to see us benefit from some of the, you know, large projects that our corporation and bank can really back. We have 3 that I'm going to talk about, opportunities on funds that are currently open. 2 close next month. They are actually focused more on capital areas that have underserved banking. So it's investment in non-subperforming loans, including secondary market purchases of commercial and residential real estate and developments. So they're purchasing loans out essentially to influx capital, and then structured credit markets to give some additional credit lines to these developments. The other is going to be more focused on you know, multifamily offices, senior houses in submarkets. And the way that UBS does this is through multiple groups. We have what's called a direct investment group who looks at single phase projects. To give you a very good example, we have one project which is located in New York. UBS exclusively allows our clientele to invest in these markets, meaning we partner with developers and builders and projects and opportunity zones, and UBS's clientele exclusively can invest in it, no one else. And this project was $365 million. We had our first close last month. It filled up in 2 days. The second close they opened Monday, and it closes actually today. As of close of business yesterday, we were 2/3 of the way filled for that close. So after an 8-year bull market, what investors are looking at is how do I move my capital gains into a solid investment that we can really gain some traction on and reduce our tax basis. You know, our UBS has looked at over 100 projects nationally thus far. My goal, being from Louisiana, is obviously to see this influx of capital come here so that the local investors can really utilize their funds to, you know, push along these other projects that really are going to lose the attention if you only invest in the big projects. And this is one of the leading areas that I've seen. I've sat in a lot of opportunities on meetings, especially in Louisiana, and Acadiana has really a collective group, and it sounds like they're starting to point out some of these projects. It's getting the developers and the, you know, registered investment advisors who are on these large development scales to come in and point these projects out, and that's what we're not seeing. The cash is there. Our clientele wait till the last minute because they want to get every gain they can pushed in. So I'm sure today's close is going to be, you know, right before the market shuts, and it'll be maxed out, and people are already asking, where's the next project? So to be able to raise, you know, $365 million in the course of 3 days just goes to show people are really willing to jump on these opportunities. We just have a lack of projects shovel ready to jump into. So, you know, congratulations for everybody who's put this together, because there's a lot of hard work. I know that the time is ticking and people are looking for these projects, and I do hope to, you know, present some of these so that we can hopefully see that influx of cash come into the Acadianas. Thanks.
Thank you, Chase. So we're going to try to adjourn this session a little bit early so we have time to transition to the next one and to give you a chance to network with each other. But wanted to see if we just have 1 or 2 burning questions from the audience before we do give you time to network. Yes.
How are we doing with completing Route 49 to
Well, that is a whole different session. So that is a project that is a work in progress. I think we might need another session focused on that. Other questions? Yes.
What's the timeline? When did this start and when does it end?
So that's a great question. The program has started already to maximize the benefits of the program. Really, the investment should happen in 2019. If Chad, I don't know if you want to take that question too. You probably have a better sense of the details.
You really have two horizon dates. The first one is 2026, which is when you have to pay the capital gains that you've rolled out. And the second one is 2046, which is when all of the incentives expire. Now, there is some talk, and there are bills that are floating around extending both of those dates, but nothing has been extended yet because I think they want to see how this thing plays out. My suspicion is based on the broad level of bipartisan support when the bill passed the first time, coupled with the amount of activity we're starting to see now, this could be the potential to be the largest economic development tool in our lifetimes to see, and they are likely to extend it at some point.
Thank you, Chad. And I think that's what Chase was saying as well. There are billions and hundreds of billions of dollars that could be invested during the time frame. And I think, too, one thing I've heard that if we can really take advantage of the program now on the current time horizon, then that will make a strong case for Congress to extend the program. So that's another reason really to push investment now. One last burning question from the audience. All right, well, now you have a chance actually to connect with each other. So you had a good chance to meet a lot of the folks who are involved in Opportunity Zone work across the region, who have national expertise. So please do take a chance to connect with each other. Our next session is leveraging downtown Lafayette as a regional asset. So if you registered for that session, there will be lunch available for those who registered for that session. And we're going to gather back in here for that. Following that session over lunch, we will have our last session of the day, Developing in Lafayette 101. Thank you all very much for joining us.